Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life.
Welcome to Warrior of Truth. This week, I am joined by Irene Weinberg. She is a public speaker, author, and host of the popular podcast Grief and Rebirth, Finding the Joy in Life. 2 months before, during, and just after her husband died next to her in a tragic car accident, Irene received profound messages that led to a spiritual awakening and her book, They Serve Bagels in Heaven. She learned to pay attention when seemingly out of the blue messages dropped into her head. Her sole mission is to educate, enlighten, and provide healing choices through her interviews with grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and people who have inspiring stories of transformation and rebirth. Both her book and podcast help people to see how each life matters and encourages healing with love and kindness at its core. Welcome, Irene. How are you?
Kelly, this is such a pleasure to join you today.
I am so excited to have you on my show. We just met very recently through a mutual friend and had a lovely dinner together. And I said, you're coming on the podcast. You have an incredible story to share. And here you are.
And here I am. And then when we were talking about this, I thought, you know what, Kelly, I'd like everyone in my world to know you too. So I think this is going to be a wonderful thing because we're going to share this on both of our podcasts so that everyone can know Kelly and in your world know Irene. And what we're doing.
And I'm so appreciative. That is so beautiful and kind of you. But again, it's just spreading the love, spreading the light, spreading the support. So I'll do a little intro about me so your audience can learn a little bit more of my work. So in simple layman's terms, I would be considered a psychic medium, but I do much more than just that. I do exorcisms, dark energy extraction work. I work with a level of internal creation called plasmas, and I use plasma healing with the work I do. I can shift timelines for people, get them onto the timeline of their choosing, get them to their desired destinies much quicker. I do a lot of healing work with the plasmas, clearing out blockages, allowing people to open up to their own divine gifts. And I'm also a broadcaster. I've been in the news industry in New York City for almost 20 years, which is wild. It's so wild to think that. I've done TV, radio throughout the tri-state area, the New York City area, almost 20 years. So I've been a news reporter for a long time. And I launched this podcast just a few weeks ago, brand new. I launched it on December 12th, 12/12, and it's sharing stories of truth in different ways, but there's always a spiritual basis to the stories I'm sharing. So Warrior of Truth is my new podcast, and I'm so honored to have you on today and to be on your podcast in a way as well too, Irene. I'm so blessed and honored.
Thank you, Kelly. And the first question I would ask you, since we're going back and forth with this, is so that people in my world who don't understand, what is plasma? Because you're talking about your work with people's plasma. What is that?
Yes. Okay. So plasma healing. Everyone, I think most people have heard of Reiki. Reiki, it's good and all, but it's a lower level healing modality. We're in a 15-dimensional time matrix structure, and there's pieces of consciousness up and down the dimensional scale. Reiki mainly uses dimensions 3, 4, and 5. And there's a level of creation above the 15-dimensional time matrix called internal creation. And then there's eternal creation, where God source is, where all of us come from. We're all sparks Lobs of energy from God's source. We're all one at the end of the day. This level of internal creation, it's higher than the 15-dimensional time matrix. That's where this plasma frequency level is coming from. My soul just happens to be really old, and I came down here to help. And this level of frequency called plasma level internal creation frequency, we're being blessed. The planet's being blessed with this level of frequency and healing right now. Normally, a reality field in this time matrix would never receive this level of healing, but times are kind of dire right now. We are going through a lot collectively, and people need to heal. They need to start seeing the truth, and this plasma level frequency, it provides an expedited level of healing, not only energetically, but it will manifest in the physical sense. I'm helping people shrink tumors with this level of healing, shrink cysts, clearing out energies from bone structures, and quite literally reconfiguring bones with the plasma level frequency. It's honestly, it's a miracle. And I'm not the only one working with this level of frequency. I know there are others around the world. They may label it as something different per se, but I know it as a plasma level frequency. I guess they call it plasma to me because it looks like plasma-like energy in the human language. That's the best way to kind of identify it. But I see it as these beautiful colors of gold and pink and purple and turquoise. It's really just a lovely frequency, and it's very soft and light, but obviously it packs a punch. It can clear out things like that. And
it's a higher frequency than a lot of other healers use,
yes.
Right?
Yes, exactly. And I meant to instill this level of frequency in many souls in my lifetime, teach them how to do it for themselves, and also so they can help others as well who aren't quite ready yet to receive that level of frequency, because it's all about clearing out your own physical vessel, your own body, to allow the frequencies to come in. And that's what I've been working on early on in my life, clearing out, doing my inner healing work, and allowing these levels of frequency to come in, and allowing me to embody them and then utilize them on others. So yeah, they're really special. It's really special and unique. And I'm just so honored and grateful that I'm able to share this gift with other people right now.
And I'm honored and grateful that I can share you with all these other people in my audience, and share you with me. And
I am so appreciative, because a lot of people don't know what plasma level healing is. It's not really out there. So part of my mission is to spread this knowledge to as many people as I can reach. So I'm so grateful for you sharing this with your audience.
My gosh.
I truly am. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and vice versa.
Yes. So I'm going to get back into reporter mode, because I need to learn all about your story. I mean, personally, I know your story. We went out to eat. You told me everything, but it's time for my audience to get to know you a bit better. Now, I have found most people have a spiritual awakening, usually after losing a loved one. That was my case. My father and my best friend both passed away within 6 months of each other. And that prompted me to then go seek out mediums and healers. And then sure enough, they all said to me, "You're a healer, you're a medium, very naturally, you'll be doing this yourself." And that prompted my spiritual awakening. I find on the flip side, another way people can awaken is through a near-death experience. And that was how you awakened. So you sadly lost your husband, Saul, who I feel like I know him so well because he's always around. He's always around. Whenever
Saul
I'm with you, he's always around.
Where do you see him in my field? Do you see him like behind me?
He's right next to you. He's hanging around.
He's probably smiling and hanging.
Oh yeah. When we went out to dinner a few weeks ago, he was right there sitting with us, joining in the fun, the whole dinner, the whole 3-hour dinner. He's a lovely, lovely soul. But you did lose him in a tragic car accident. So tell us more about this story, because you started receiving messages before this accident even happened, telling you this was going to happen, correct?
Right. And Saul and I want to tell your audience, we're complete skeptics. We did not believe in spirituality. We thought it was baloney, woohoo, for people who were crazy. And I even had a sister-in-law who was spiritual. And at the time of the accident, and I'll tell everyone about this accident, we were hardly talking to her because we thought that she was a little out there. Guess what? Now it's me. So,
Welcome to the club.
Welcome to the club. So what happened to me was one day, well, first of all, let me give you a little backup. We were second marriage. We were married for about 18 years. I brought up Saul's, we got custody of all of our children, the total 3 together, his 2 and my 1. And we both had, uncomfortable backgrounds with our former spouses and all. And I guess we were brought together to do this wonderful work and find each other. And we had we were surrounded by issues and people and problems, but between us, we had an amazing marriage. And we're married about 18 years. And one day I'm at my kitchen sink and I'm washing some dishes, which I guess someone would say is a little meditative, Kelly, I don't know. But all of a sudden, because I don't get messages like that, this message came into my head. And it felt like a thought, but it was not my thought. And it said to me, Saul has to go. Many lessons will be learned from his death. And I literally paused at my kitchen sink and I was like, what am I thinking? And I thought about it for a second and I said, I put it right out of my head and I filled a glass of water. I took it over to him. He was watching a Jets game on TV. Kissed the top of his head, gave him his glass of water, and proceeded to push it out of my mind. But you never forget something like that. So 2 months later, we had a ski house in the Catskills, and we were driving up to the ski house in the Catskills, and Saul was very tired. He had a tough week at work. And I said, honey, you want me to drive? And he said, okay. So I drove up to our ski house, and something told me, make this the best weekend he ever had. Now, on some kind of a conscious level, I had no idea that was going to be our last weekend together, but I had this feeling, make this the best weekend. So I thought, even if he wants to go to lunch with people I don't really care for, I'm going to go. Whatever he wants. I just had this feeling, right? And then at the end of the weekend, I have 2 things to say about that. The night before the accident happened, we were talking and all. One of the things Saul said to me, which was another kind of indicator, but at the time I didn't recognize it. He said, I am so lucky and thankful to have you in my life. The night before he passed. And
I want to cry. You're making me cry.
Right? And the following day, we stopped at my stepdaughter for Hanukkah. She lived in the area. He said goodbye. We said goodbye. We got on the road, and we were driving about an hour and a half on the New York State Thruway at 72 miles an hour. And I suddenly felt our car go into a huge swerve. And I looked over at Saul, and he was sound asleep at the wheel. I mean, sound asleep. And I called out, Saul, and he woke up. And he saw what was happening, and he went to pull the car out of the swerve. But instead of righting itself, the car started to jump up into the air like I was in a roller coaster. And we flipped 4 times. And when we flipped once, and everything was on the right side. So I had 4 surgeries on my right side from the accident. We flipped the first time and landed really hard and flipped back up in the air. And as we flipped the second time, another message came into my head. It said, he's not going to make it, you are. Whoa. And now we continue to flip. And then if you were looking at a clock, the 10 of to the 10 after mark, I left my body. It was very black. I am told that I was seated with what was going to be happening now in my life. And I was given amnesia.
Wow.
Kelly, you might know more from your
chills.
Abilities, but
Yep.
they gave me amnesia, so all I remember is this black space, but I knew that I left my body, and I suddenly re-entered my body. I could feel that shift, and then we hit again a 3rd time and a 4th time, and we landed upside down in a ravine by the side of the thruway. And I suddenly see, we held up traffic for 2.5 hours. It was such a bad accident.
Wow.
and I suddenly see a helicopter land in front of us, and these three EMTs jump out of the helicopter, and they start to bounce the car to right the car on the road. And as they're doing this, I'm looking over at Saul and I'm going, Saulie, are you okay? And I see that he's gone. And that what I suddenly get in that moment, oh my God, I was told that he was going to go. He's gone. And I got in the moment that he was still with me. I knew that it was not over because I got those messages.
Yeah.
And as these EMTs righted the car, one of them put his hands through the shattered window of my car, undid my seatbelt, and started to turn me around to pull me through the window of my car. And I was sliding through the window of my car, a male voice. I don't know. I was told it might have been Archangel Gabriel, or it was a male voice. Came, because I tell women, I want to tell you it was a girl, but it was a male voice. A male voice came into my head, and it said, "Be loving and kind to everyone." As I'm sliding through the window of my car, and they're laying me on the side of the road. Well, Kelly, this would tend to change your cells as they're multiplying. I mean, all of a sudden, I get in that moment. My husband is gone next to me. Today, I would say he's transitioned, but I knew he was gone next to me. I don't recognize that I've had this out of body experience. You know, it's all like coming together. And I've been told to be loving and kind to everyone. So instead of screaming for myself, I knew I got a directive from heaven. So instead of screaming for myself and carrying on, I knew that there was something this was meant. And I knew that there was something up, but I didn't know what it was. So when they came to help load me into the helicopter and to go to the emergency trauma center, instead of screaming for myself, I said, God bless you. Thank you for coming out. It's the weekend before Christmas. I'm so grateful. And they got me to the emergency trauma center. Instead of carrying on, I was all about, thank you so much. When the nurses came to help me, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. When the doctor came to tell me Saul was gone, I said to him, Doc, I know, and I'm the luckiest woman in the world because I had this man. I was so conscious. It like threw me into being completely conscious, so much so that I got a call from the assistant to the surgeon who put 19 stitches in an artery in the bottom of my right foot that night. And I had 2 blood transfusions, and I got she called me about 3 months after the accident. And she said, I have to tell you that you changed lives in the emergency room that night. She said, we have seen everything. We had never seen anyone react with love and kindness to everyone who came near you the way you did. And I said to her, Trish, I had a spiritual awakening. I had a spiritual awakening, and it's really changed my life. She says, I just needed to tell you, it was unbelievable, the impact you had on everyone. I said, thank you. Now, though, that was 3 months later, but 6 weeks after the accident, I'm in grieving hell. Like everybody else, I've lost the love of my life, and I'm dealing, oh my God, with all these financial stuff that he left, and all kinds of stepchildren things and kids, everything. And I am very upset, but I know something is up. And I'm also still in a wheelchair. And I have like a cast on my leg. And I mean, like I said, I had a series of 4 surgeries. So there was a lot going on in that department too. And it was like, I can see now when I look backwards how spirit orchestrated this, because 6 weeks after the accident, I get a call from my dry cleaner because, as you know, Kelly, I talk to everybody and I'm very friendly. So I get a call from my dry cleaner, and he said, you know, Irene, I wouldn't normally tell anybody this. He said, but I feel like you're very open-minded and I'm supposed to share this with you. And 8 years ago, my wife and I lost our son to a drug overdose, and we were besides ourselves. And we went to grief counselors and social workers and all kinds of people. And no one could help us. And then someone told us that there are people who communicate with the soul of someone on the other side. And we found our son. And he started to tell me about these experiences that they had had. And he said, we're going to be seeing, in 2 weeks, we're going to be seeing someone who's going to be very famous one day. And he said he's amazing, and he's done this and this and this for us, and this is how we know our son is on the other side. I had no idea what he was talking about, but I knew something was up. So he invited me to go with him and I was driving Saul's car at the time, and I'm going to tell you for a reason why I'm saying that, because my car was totaled. There was pieces of it still on the thruway 6 months after the accident.
Oh.
And so he invited me to come to his home, which was 5 towns away from where I lived. And I would get into his car. So we would leave my car in his home, and I would or Saul's car, I should say. And I would get into his car, and he would drive me another 5 towns in another direction to where this medium, who was the world famous John Edward, before he was famous.
Wow. What year was this?
This was 1998.
Wow.
Right? So John Edward greets me. And I mean, when I tell you how he wasn't known yet, there were 35 people in this little gallery for him, and half of them were taking notes, because that was before voice recorders. They were taking notes for the people they came with. I mean, and I should say something else too, how spirit works. When I get the invitation from my dry cleaner, I had no idea what was up, but I had never been there, but there was a spiritual bookstore in my world. And I walked in, and right smack in front of me was James Van Prague's new book, Talking to Heaven.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, I bought that. And I'm going to tell you what how that mixed into everything. So I'm reading that. I'm saying, oh, really? Okay. And now I walk into this hotel with my dry cleaner, and John Edward looks at me and says, I don't even want to know your name. Go upstairs with all these other people. And he greets my dry cleaner. And I go upstairs, and I'm watching for about a half hour, 40 minutes. Like Saul was waiting for me to acclimate myself. And I'm watching these amazing, amazing messages come through for people. I'm getting a message from someone whose father shot himself in the head with a pistol. That's not like coincidental information. Oh my gosh, it's my father. Or your mother says she saw you hanging a picture for Christmas or whatever. All of a sudden, he says, I'm getting a soul on the other side. And he's talking about Dr. Pepper. Does anyone relate to Dr. Pepper? And I elbowed my dry cleaner. His name was Joel. I said, Joel, start writing. Oh my God. Because 15 years before he met me, Saul's brother who was an advertising executive on Madison Avenue, put Saul's name in a Dr. Pepper commercial, because they were representing Dr. Pepper. And the ad was hilarious, because I used to laugh about it all the time. Dr. Pepper is coming east from California. Let's talk to the man in the street, Saul Weinberg, about what he thinks about Dr. Pepper, not Joe Smith or John Doe. He put his brother's name in the ad. I had no way of having personally experienced that. John Edward had no way of knowing what that was. And that was like an absolute identifier for Saul. And he proceeded to come through for 40 minutes. And one of the messages was, I'm going to show you, Kelly. He's telling me that you're driving his favorite car with Saul Z on the license.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Wow.
That was parked like 5 towns away. And there was no way he could know that. And kids used to call Saul Uncle Saul Z, because Saul was a real estate developer. And when he sold them condos, they loved calling him Uncle Saul Z. So, okay. So like that came through. And then there were like all kinds of other amazing messages that he with the kids' names, all this information. He's telling me he died in a different state than where you live. I mean, on and on and on and on with this like, and he's telling me you were reading an important book to prepare yourself before you came here. I mean, it was Saul. So now, and then at the end of 40 minutes, Kelly, Saul was talking, and he was only gone 2 months. And John Edward literally said, how long is this guy on the other side? And I said, 2 months. And he said, this is an old soul. This guy, which I don't think John Edward would say today. But he said that day, he said, this guy's been around the block a lot. He said, I can't even get over how he's communicating with me so shortly after he passed and all that. Okay, so now who can I tell about this? Because I used to think it was woohoo nuts. Now I'm woohoo nuts. I just heard from my husband. So I called my mother, who she said, I hope it's true. And I called my sister-in-law, who we thought was crazy because she was spiritual. And she said to me, thank God, because 2 weeks after Saul died, I got messages for you and I did not know how to tell you.
Oh, wow.
And there were 4 messages. And one was about business that was right on the money with what I was dealing with. And the others were about the kids. I mean, that it was like, so now I know. And I started opening up to this world. Kelly, I can't tell anyone in my world about it because they would think I was cuckoo. Like I thought that my sister-in-law was cuckoo. So I start going to these different mediums and different people. And Saul keeps coming through. He describes his toes through someone. The first meal I ever made him. The first way we ever kissed. I mean, you name it. Honey, it's me. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. And then I started getting a message from people, many of the 2, 3, 4 of them saying, he's saying there's a divine plan and he was supposed to go at this time and you are supposed to work together from across the veil. I'm like, huh? But I know it's him and I would do anything for him and I know something is up. So one thing led to another and I was led to this. In fact, my sister-in-law introduced me to this woman who was able to channel Saul. She could hear him like amazing. And I said, I'm getting messages. I'm supposed to write a book. And I started asking him questions and she would get the answers. It was unbelievable. They come right through her and she'd be sitting at her keyboard. This is like in 1999 or whatever. She's sitting at her keyboard. And how I really knew this was real was she was Methodist. And she had never heard a word of Hebrew in her life. And one day she's sitting at her keyboard. She's saying, he's telling me about these past lives you had. And one of them was you were a little boy in ancient Israel. And he was your rabbi. And we were not always Jewish, by the way, everybody. I mean, I've had past lives where I was Catholic and different things, but this was another Jewish past life. And he's telling me that you were such a good little boy. And I'm asking him what your name was. And I don't understand what he's saying to me. It's a really weird name. It sounds like Yeled Tov. And I said, oh my God, Yeled Tov is Hebrew for a good little boy.
Wow.
There was no way that she knew what that was. And that would be what he probably called me in that lifetime.
Wow.
Right. And
I have
then
chills.
Right. And then
Chills.
I got our names in that lifetime and all of that kind of thing. So now I'm going on and on and on. I come out with the book and I take all my courage to do it because in my world, people still think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But I know that it's what I'm supposed to do. And I start meeting people and going to book clubs and book signings and all. And people really love the book. And it's, I asked him all these amazing things. What do they do about evil there? Are you in a healing space? Are we truly soulmates? What's the deal with soulmates? All these, what was it like for you to cross over? Tell me about your experience. And one of the things that he told me is that when you cross over, you are given a life review. But before your life review, they acclimate you, they make you comfortable as to the life you just lived. So what happened for him was his mother met him and they had bagels in heaven together. He got this whole visual experience, blah, blah, blah. And he talked about it for the book about what he had experienced. So, and I tell people, if you want to find out more about that, page 8 of the book. But
did he like bagels a lot when he was here? Yeah.
Sure, of course. Absolutely, of course.
You were in Jersey, I tell people, of course. Right?
And if you and when you're on the other side, if you want lox and cream cheese and coffee, it's there. Believe me, it's there for you.
You can have anything you want.
So now I got the book. I'm getting all this information. I'm out there. And one day, Kelly, I'm sitting here just where you see me, and all of us, and I don't get all these messages like this. I got the 3 messages around the accident. All of a sudden, the word podcast came into my head. And I am a baby boomer, and I was working with someone, and I had no idea what that meant. So I knew it was a message from the other side. And I said to her, what's a podcast? I literally said, what's a podcast?
Wow.
Right? So she said, oh, I can help you do that. So I thought, okay, they're telling me I'm supposed to do a podcast. It's my next step. And I did everything because I had gotten the directive the way I did. I totally believed that something was up with me and this was real. And so I knew that this was my next step. So I thought, all right, what am I going to call it? And I decided, because my grief had been so devastating and I was really recreating myself, and I was going through, I'm passionate about healing. So I was working with healers and all of that kind of thing, energy healers. I also had a life transition coach and all that. I said, I'm going to call it Grief and Rebirth, because you can have a devastating loss and stay stuck in the loss, or you can use it to propel you on, because you're obviously meant to live longer and make your mark in other ways. And I thought, okay, so who am I going to interview? And I thought, I worked with a life transition coach. I worked with a spiritual healer, and I got medium saved my life. And the other thing that happened to me was when they pulled me out of the car, I thought to myself, this is my earthbound thought, I have to get through this somehow, because I have to show my son that you can get hit by a grenade in life and still keep going.
Absolutely.
And that Saul was right. So Saul was buried on my son's 21st birthday. So one of the things my son has said to me about 4 years after the accident, he said, Mom, there's been nothing worse than seeing you in total despair, and nothing better than seeing you be able to have joy again. So I thought, you know what? Grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and people who have amazing stories of coming through tremendous challenges to find joy again. And that is what I decided what I was going to do. Well, the podcast now is in the top 2% of 3 million podcasts, Kelly.
That's so incredible. I mean, beyond incredible.
Right. I'm in 40 countries with it. It is not about my ego. It is truly a divine. It's helping so many people. I'm interviewing healers like you. I'm interviewing all kinds of people to educate people, which is what we're doing right now. Yep. About to educate people and enlighten people that there is more than meets our eyes, our naked eyes, and that, there are plans, and that my passion, as happened with me, is to encourage people to heal. Because why do you want to go through the same kind of stuff with the same people over and over and over again, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime?
I am done after this life, let me tell you. I'm clearing my karma out. I'm doing my mission. Bye. Have fun.
Right.
Bye, Earth.
Right. I mean, that's how, in a lot of ways, like, I feel... life was so hard. There have been so many challenges, but I'm cleaning it up. I'm letting things go. I am. And you know what it's like? I tell people, if you can clean, and it's hard, it's not easy. It takes a lot of courage to meet yourself. Absolutely. When you're trying to heal. But if you are able to do it, it's like you drop this huge backpack full of worries and distress and trauma and stories and drama. You drop it, and now it's like I feel so much freer. I'm not carrying that backpack of horror, trauma, sadness, whatever, with me everywhere I go. It's what happened to me, but it informs me as to where I am now. It doesn't cripple me as to where I am now.
And it cripples so many people. You look around the world right now, so many people are crippled by their karmic imprints, by energies, these stuck, stagnant energies. And like you said, when you drop that baggage, you feel free, you feel clear, you feel wonderful. For myself, let me know how you feel. I don't have any worries. I don't worry about anything anymore. I have such trust in the divine. I have such faith in my destiny and what I'm meant to be doing. And I have such trust with my divine guidance. I don't worry about anything. And there's a lot I could be worried about, absolutely, but I don't. I don't sweat anything. I don't sweat the small stuff. I don't sweat the big stuff. It's so freeing. It truly is.
Very is freeing.
Right?
And I absolutely. And for me, it's like I don't I go step by step as I'm led, but I'm led step by step, so I don't have to obsess about what's coming up. I just have
Yes.
faith that the next step is coming up and I will walk through that door, and knowing that I also have discernment, because sometimes some things are not always pristine and things can get in the way. So I know that I need to discern a clean path, as opposed to when people come and their motives are not.
Absolutely. Discernment is key. I believe that very strongly. You had to, and I think I said this to you during our dinner, but I'm going to say it again for the podcast. You and Saul chose this timeline, this path, this mission together. You chose to go through that grief, to have that loss, to lose your husband, which I still cry. I know death is not real. I know we're eternal beings, but still, when I hear stories like that, I can't help but get all emotional. You lost your husband of 18 years, correct? It was 18 years. That's devastating. That's such a huge, tough loss. Your soul chose to experience that, to have that experience, so you could therefore help others who are dealing with grief in their lives. And so many people around all of us. I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you know at least one person who is struggling with grief, struggling to overcome that sense of loss from losing a loved one. It's not easy. Sometimes people get stuck in grief for years and years, and I know from channeling loved ones in the astral plane, for people, they don't want us to suffer. They don't want us to be sad. They want us to live our lives and have fun and enjoy our experiences here. That's the last thing they want us to do, is to mourn them and be stuck in that stagnant energy. So I know your soul chose a very tough mission, and Saul as well. I feel like the two of you are tag teaming it. He's tag teaming and helping energetically from a higher dimensional field. And he is a very old soul, very strong. I've connected with him during dinner. He is so strong. And obviously, as John Edwards said, he is very old. Both of you are quite ancient, actually, they're saying. I'm hearing that now, which I think I told you. And you're tag teaming it, as above, so below. You got the below, he's got the above, and he's been like guiding you every step of the way. And you are helping so many people, because you can't truly help someone going through something like grief unless you've been through it yourself and you've come out on the other side. And you've obviously done tremendous healing, and you are offering such a tremendous support to so many of your listeners and the readers of your books. And
I feel so blessed, Kelly. I mean, this is nothing to do with my ego. You know, people go, wow, Irene, look what you're doing. I go, no. This podcast is on the wings of angels, because it's helping so many people. I'm just happy to serve and happy to get this healing to people and to give people choices. I am not invested in, I make all these wonderful people available on my website and I interview them. Yeah. Everybody, you check them out and you see and determine who's right for you. But heal, maybe a few of them are right for you, and maybe there's a medium, and maybe there's a different kind of healer or whatever. But heal. That is my whole thing. I even think most of the road rage and everything that we find comes from people are driving with their issues.
Yes.
And they can't even drive down the street without getting furious because the person cut them off or whatever. If you don't carry that backpack full of issues, you go, okay, creepo just cut me off. I'll slow down, let him do his thing. If you're carrying your bag of issues, what do? Let me get my gun and shoot this guy or beat him up or whatever, because you're displacing, to my mind, you're displacing all of your fury, rage, trauma onto that person. Yeah. So, that's my whole thing. Heal, please, with love, heal your stuff. So that's what I'm doing. And I make the, I want to really share it, like something that happened with the podcast. I'm just so humbled by what's going on. So one woman was nearing retirement, and she was learning to be a grief coach. And she wasn't sure exactly how she was where she was going with it or whatever. And she loves my podcast, and she doesn't miss an episode. And this was 2 years ago. She's driving And she says to her husband, you know what? I love listening to this podcast. Let's listen to it as we're driving. And as she's driving, this podcast episode I had with a woman named Cherokee Ilse. Cherokee specializes in infant death. And so Cherokee, and counseling people who have lost infants, you know, or fetuses or whatever. And she feels that people grieve that, and there's not enough attention, or it's like a specialty to help people who have that kind of a loss. She developed a certification for this, and this amazing work she's done. This woman happened to be listening to that interview, and she said to her husband, oh my God, we had an infant loss and we never really dealt with it. And I am feeling that I need to work with Cherokee. And I am going to not only become this grief coach, but I'm going to take that specialty. This woman just opened up a department in a hospital in New Jersey specializing in infant loss.
Wow.
I mean, she said this all came from your podcast.
Oh,
and I feel
cry.
so blessed to be a part of that and to pass that along and help people like that. So this is what is happening.
That's
it's
beyond
amazing.
Incredible. It's so wonderful. And like you said, there's so many different modalities of healing. There's something out there for everyone. I want to know what worked for you. What modalities did you utilize during your healing process?
I've done a ton of them. I have been passionate about it. I mean, what I need to tell the audience is part of my dysfunction was my family abandoned me for 23 years. And I had a very abusive father and all of that kind of thing. So I, you know, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of trauma. So I've worked with therapists. I've worked with a life transition coach. After the accident, I opened up to energy healing. I worked with a woman who literally was able to, through prayer and other modalities, help me with past life issues, which I had at the time. I did not even know that issues come from past lives. All of a sudden, this opened me up to all of that. Yep. And there were some issues that I had in my body and all that we were able to address. Later on, I worked with her name is Rainu Chang, and I have an interview coming up with Rainu. Rainu is an Akashic record specialist, and she also does other type of healing. And Rainu, through the Akashic records, I thought I had spinal stenosis at one point, and the beings of light said, no, I did not. I was in a terrible accident in 812 AD.
Very precise.
When a horse-drawn carriage with a canopy, and I was like a little girl of 7, and there was a big fat man next to me, and they said to me, this man, the horse tripped, the carriage fell over on its left side, the man fell over on my right side, and I had a terrible death in that lifetime.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Right, awful. This was the weirdest thing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we left off, you were telling this story about the past life in 1280 AD.
Oh yeah, right.
And then what happened on your end? Your computer just boom.
It just blacked out. The internet like black. I was like, where'd everything go?
All the energy. I think we did something.
We did something.
We're a force
to be reckoned with.
Quite literally, the energy was too much to handle. So boom. But we're back now.
We're back.
We were both so confused. We're like, what is going on here? Where'd you go, Irene? But you're back now. So we'll continue where we left off. You were talking about the spinal injury from this past life, correct?
Right. So I was under the turned out to be misconception that I had my mother's spinal stenosis, because for 10 years I've been having pain in my back and all. So the beings of light during the Akashic record session said to me, no, dear child, it's because of this accident you're carrying an energetic print through different lifetimes. And it's interesting because everything in the accident happened on my right side. And supposedly in this accident in 812 AD, the man fell on top of my right side. It's energy healer. My back cleared up. It was amazing. So that I did not have spinal stenosis. And so I've worked with her.
Okay.
a little message that's saying your internet connection is unstable. I don't know why.
We're just going to roll with it. We're going to roll with it.
Shaking it up. So anyway,
we're gonna make this work somehow. Don't worry. We got divine help above.
Right.
Where's Saul? Where's Saul? Can Saul help us, please?
Please help us.
Saul. I want to add to talking about the past life clearings. That's part of the work I do with people. We have something called a morphogenetic template that every piece of our consciousness up and down the time matrix is stationed upon, as well as our physical bodies. So something that happens to us in past life, although it's not really a past life, it's a simultaneous life, because time is not linear, it is simultaneous. So everything's happening at once. So a horrible, tragic death like that, we feel it in these physical bodies in this present moment. And I'm able to see that for people, similar to how that healer helped you. I'm able to clear out, it's called a karmic miasmic imprint. I'm able to clear that out energetically of people, clearing that karma for good. Once you clear karma in this present moment, the past versions of you and the future versions of you also are cleared as a result.
That's amazing.
And that can help pain. If you were experiencing, say, spinal pain, that would help clear that pain out. So people don't realize how these other lifetimes, they affect us so deeply in this present life, in this present moment. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's incredible. You were able to start that healing modality.
So everything that as I healed, one thing has led to another. And I keep letting go. And one of the more profound things that happened is 25 years after he passed, my father, who I never, ever, ever wanted to hear from, my father started coming through. He's come through 2 or 3 people saying, I'm sorry. He actually said to me through somebody, when I went to the other side and I had a life review, it was like I was getting pistol whipped because I was experiencing what I did to others, and I never realized. And he explained to me that he had ancestral pain, that he was perpetrating the legacy that he didn't understand. He said that he's been healing on the other side. He's asked me over and over to please leave what happened with us in your, let it propel you into the future. Let it be a stepping stone to you. I'm so sorry. And look what you're doing now. And I truly believe that this trauma, all this trauma and what I've gone through and all the healing was all preparing me for being able to talk to someone like you, Kelly, being able to, on my end, bringing you out to the world and what you can do. Because I would not understand it if I hadn't done it myself.
Absolutely. You had to experience it yourself. Absolutely. You went through all these experiences, the trauma from when you were younger, the loss of your husband. You had these experiences to bring you to this present moment, and therefore to help others who need this help. And that's the whole world right now. The whole world needs to heal collectively and individually. There's so many unhealed people, and it breaks my heart. And so many people are just not open. And I think you're doing such a service by spreading this knowledge, this wealth of knowledge to you have a huge audience, and it's going to keep, I see it growing. Okay, I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm hearing this very clearly, and it's coming from Saul. I feel very strongly. He's saying, you're going to 1 million, baby. Exactly like that. He says, you're going to 1 million, baby. I hear it loud and clear. Wow. I believe it. Wow. Between your podcast and you have a new book coming out. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Yes.
When is this going to air, Kelly? Can you tell me when will this podcast of yours air?
This week. We're going to put this out this week. I'm going to put this out probably tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
So we're putting this out immediately.
Okay,
yeah.
When I air it, it'll be in a month or so. But this spring, I'm doing I'm a little loath to name it yet because I want to have a big launch. But I'm writing a book. A lot of people, I'm in my 7th decade, which shocks a lot of people.
You look like you're in your 40s or 50s, honestly. When I first met, I said, there's no way she's in her 70s. There's just, you don't have any wrinkles, not a wrinkle in sight. Your skin is perfection.
I don't have any Botox, nothing.
And you're all natural.
I'm all natural. And what I really think is, because I've unloaded so much.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
and the other thing that happened was when I got the message, when they laid me on the side of the road and it said, be loving and kind to everyone. The big
Mm.
message I have for everybody, one of the big messages is, this includes you too. So I took that as, be loving and kind to everyone, included me. And I have gone
Yes.
out of my way for me, not in a narcissistic way, but to take care of myself. So I take care of my skin. I take care of my diet. I exercise.
Chose.
I've chosen a path of health in a lot of different ways. And the other thing that's happened to me is I'm now conscious. So I am very aware of the messages I'm putting out, the signals I'm putting out, how I treat people in my life, because when I got be loving and kind to everyone, that means, so when I talk to people or when I'm that way, I basically live love and kindness now as a behavior. And it's
Yeah.
not phony, it's conscious. Like if I something really bothers me, I know I have a choice of how I'm going to handle it. And often I
Absolutely.
can kind of discern, is that person open, or do I need to protect myself and kind of back away a little bit, or whatever that is. But you know, I've so talking about the new book coming, because I'm such a role model for getting older with purpose, which I think is also really important, to have
Mm.
meaning and purpose in your life, which gives you fuel to keep going. So put it together, you're taking care of yourself. I mean, it's not that I don't get aches and pains and that I'm not older, but I'm consciously taking care of myself and going to a healer if I need to, or whatever.
But you're right.
Uh,
So many people let themselves go, especially
yes,
as they get older.
yes.
And why do we
Why?
do that? Why? You could feel good and look great still at any age. And you are living proof of that.
Right, exactly. I mean, just because I'm getting, and believe me, what at my age, I don't know. Saul died at 58. He thought he was going to live forever on a conscious level. How many years I got? So I don't know, but I'm living my life consciously. I'm very aware of the impact and the legacy I'm leaving to people. And I want it to be a legacy of love and kindness and
Yeah.
understanding. Not, oh, she was a big PIA and she carried her issues around with her all the time and she la 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 la. And so I'm writing a book, and it's an anthology of people's third chapters of what they're doing in the third chapter of their life.
I
In other
love
words, right?
this.
You're in your second chapter, I
Yep.
think,
I
right?
just started my second chapter. I just turned 40 in
There
January.
you
So
go.
yes.
You're in
Mm-hmm.
your second chapter. The first chapter is like, we're kids, we're growing up, we're getting ourselves established, we're going to school, maybe we're getting married and all that. Then the second chapter is the midlife. And then the third chapter, I think of is the 60s and 70s forward. What are you doing in your third chapter? I'm not criticizing people who are doing nothing and not taking care of themselves, but there is another way.
Absolutely.
So 22 people or 23 people wanted to contribute their stories to what they are doing,
I
along
love
with mine,
this.
what they are doing to make their lives vibrant and meaningful, to the good to the last drop,
I love this.
just to
Hmm.
do this. So they are it's going to be coming out this spring.
Oh,
And I
very
think
soon.
very soon,
Exciting.
and I think it's going to help a lot of people. And
Yes.
I think a lot of people will draw inspiration from it.
Absolutely. And it's never too late to heal or better yourself. At any age, you can have a spiritual awakening. You can
Absolutely.
do your inner healing. It can start at any point in life, and you could start fresh at any point in time. I always say, you know how they do like that Forbes 20 under 20 list, like the best 20 young kids, doing big things. I want to see a list that's like the best 60 over 60 to hear about stories of people older in age who have started anew, started fresh, healed themselves, cleared themselves, started new lives, started new chapters, started new businesses. I think that's more inspiring personally, because as a society, we've been taught, oh, you just retire and that's it, then you die, whatever. But no, absolutely not. I think we're going to be living longer and longer. I think the human lifespan is definitely lengthening. And why should we just, drop dead in our 70s and our 80s? Why? There's so much life to live. There's so much to experience here. And you can have a wonderful, fulfilling life in your older age. I love this idea, Irene. I love it.
People, and you know how many people I know, even who live around me, who are bored. They retire, they're bored, and they're talking about each other, and they're creating drama, and they're doing all these things. How about volunteering? How about making a difference somewhere? How about, there are a million ways you can help and recreate yourself. One of the people in my book, he started grief support groups for men who have lost children. That. And that's what he is doing. I mean, there's so many ways that you could. One person in my book, and believe me, when we come out, it's going to be a big launch on my on the podcast and all. But one person, I mean, each story is so amazing with what they are doing. One person is working with climate change and environmental issues.
Wow.
The man is in a wheelchair. He's had some health problems and all, but he lives vibrant and fully alive every day because he is motivated with what he is doing till his last breath.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. This book is going to help a lot of people. A lot. You're here to help. You know that.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
Simple as that. Yeah.
Simple as that. And then, and I am really happy and very fulfilled because it is making a difference in so many lives. And in my life, I am very fulfilled. I am never bored. I cherish all of my relationships. I am so grateful. And I totally buy into the idea that this lifetime is a classroom. We come to Earth to learn. And I'm hoping I'm learning my lessons so that the next time around, if there is one, or if we stay there, or I don't know how it's going to work, will be an even better life with less karma and fewer things to deal with.
Oh, absolutely. The planet as a consciousness, I was shown, has decided it's done with the negative energy. It's been on this planet for far too long, and it's been a lesson. It's been a learning planet for many of us here and the planet itself. And now the planet is purging the darkness, and we are creating a beautiful new earth. And part of your work is to inspire people, teach them, encourage them to heal, to better themselves so they can as well raise their frequency to continue with the planet as the planet journeys, as it goes higher with its frequency and sheds the darkness into pure light. This planet's becoming pure light. We're creating a brand new earth right now.
That's amazing.
We're the beginning stage of it right now. We're starting it.
So people living in it this year who are seeing all the chaos everywhere.
Yes.
Is this the earth throwing up?
Quite literally.
And purging all the the negativity. And so technically we have a better 2025 to look forward to.
I see a great 2025 and beyond, a beautiful future, and we are starting it, and the future generations are going to continue the work that we're beginning right now. There's going to be growing pains, probably some chaos. Again, like you said, it's the earth purging out the darkness. It's purging it out in the news. You can see a lot of chaos happening around the world. I mean, everywhere around the world, there's craziness right now, to put it very simply. And also, even with natural disasters, you're seeing that's part of the purge of the planet as well, but it's going to lead to a beautiful new planet, a beautiful new earth full of so much love and support and happiness. And collectively,
you mean people are actually going to come together, Kelly, and stop?
I see it.
So partisan and killing each other.
I know. Hard to believe, I know, but yes, I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. Obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day. It didn't end in a day. Similar, it's going to take time to get to that level, but baby steps. We're beginning it now. And people like you, like myself, that's why our souls came down during this time period, to also have an experience, but to help the others. Remember that we're collectively all one. We all come from the same source. I'm you, you're me, vice versa. We're all one at the end of the day. And we have to start treating one another like we're talking to ourselves. Be kind to ourselves and be kind to others, like you said. I'll share this story. It's kind of a silly story, but not really. Like you said, I always try and be kind to everybody. Again, I'm not perfect. I have my moments. I have my days where I'm having a bad day. We're only human still, but I truly try and be kind to everyone I encounter. I was getting gas, and in New Jersey, if you're not from Jersey, there's a gas station attendant. We don't pump our own gas here.
Isn't that cool? Wait a minute. I have a sign on my refrigerator that says Jersey girls don't pump gas.
So I love it. I don't like pumping gas. I get lazy when I go to another state, but it's great in Jersey. But we have these gas station attendants, and people aren't always very nice to them. You know, it's a rough job. And I went and got gas recently, and all I said to the guy was, "How are you today?" And I said, "Thank you so much for helping me." And he, before I said goodbye, he gave me my credit card. He said to me, "No one ever asks how I am. Thank you for asking how I'm doing."
Oh my gosh.
Something as simple as that, just asking how someone's doing. And then, of course, I energetically sent him an abundance of love and plasma healing. I didn't tell him I did, but I did. But something as simple as just asking how someone's day is going can make such a profound impact in that person's day or even in their life. So I think it's really important to remember, just try and be kind, be nice, ask someone how they're doing. Simple as that.
It's important, as simple as that you see them.
Yes.
People feel witness and see. So I have a story also to contribute. So for a while after Saul died and I was getting into this world, I was working with a medium, and I was a business manager. And I had her coming from Chicago, and we would, be meeting and going different places. And we developed to know my personality, that we started developing territories, and she started having people waiting for her to come. And we opened up a territory in Vermont, and someone invited us to go to do a gallery, which is a bunch of people who come together with a medium, and she or he bring forth what I did with John Edward. They bring forth messages from your deceased loved ones. So we walk into this room in Vermont in a hotel. We know absolutely no one. We do not even know the person who invited us. He invited us through someone else, and we came. And as we walk into this gallery, there was a young girl in the first row waiting for us. Maybe there were 35, 40 people in the room. And she was crying hysterically. I mean, hysterical. And as the medium approached her in the front of the room, the medium said to her, "I'm seeing a male figure. It feels like a father figure right by you. And he's telling me that the night before he unexpectedly died, you had a horrible fight, and the two of you said terrible things to each other, and then he was gone. And he's coming through to apologize to you. He loves you. He is so sorry." And the session went on. And the difference in this young woman from when she was hysterical to at the end of this gallery, walking out with such relief and a big smile. Her father had come through to acknowledge and apologize and all of that. And it made me realize, I really consciously realized, be careful what you say to people. Like what Saul said to me, "I'm so lucky and thankful to have you in my life, will stick with me for the rest of my life." And that was the night before he died. I try to be conscious of how I talk to people, because that imprint will follow you to the other side.
Absolutely.
And that becomes karma that you need to deal with later on.
And that means you have to keep coming back. You don't want to do that right now.
Right. So like when you're having a fight with your kid or your spouse or whatever, what are you saying to them? What are you putting out there?
Be aware. Awareness is key. Be aware, be consciously aware of the words are really important. I've learned that as a broadcaster too. It's been embedded in me, but we have to be so careful and really conscious of the words that we use. Words can hurt. They can, and you have to be very careful when you're speaking. And I'm not perfect. I've said nasty things to loved ones before, to family. I think we're all guilty of that at some point in our lifetimes, getting in fights with friends, family, saying things that we regret. But now that I've done my inner work and I've done my clearing and my healing, I'm much more aware and conscious. And I sometimes slip up, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm a saint over here, but I've come to a point in my journey where I really am very cautious of how I say things and the exact wording I use, because we don't want to hurt anybody. No. And we don't want to get hurt ourselves. And you know what it's like to be hurt. Why would you want to instill that in anyone else? It's just,
That's right.
it's unnecessary. It's
and
unnecessary.
If they're hurting you and they're really toxic for you, there are different ways that you can separate out from them. Like I've done that with people where I separate out with love. I just say, I love you, but I can't, but you're toxic for me. It's not a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
All of that. There are different things that you can do, but you do not have, like this man, whatever he said to his daughter, what a horrible thing. And then he was gone.
Yeah. That's beautiful. She got to have that closure through the mediumship. I think could be very healing. When I do sessions with people, connecting them with their loved ones who've passed over, I find it to be tremendously healing for them in that way. Sometimes it's getting that extra message they never received before that person passed over that just makes such a difference in their lives.
It changed my life. That's when I had that session with John Edward. That was like, oh my God, Saul's still here. I mean, I kind of knew it, but that validation, wow, that I am going to see him again or be with him again.
Yep.
It changes for me, it changes, I think a lot. I mean, grief is terrible and it's so painful, but it's a comfort if you know that you will reunite with that person.
Yeah.
And right now you need to do your work on this side.
Absolutely. And they're always watching. They're always watching. They're always around. I know that because I can see them for the most part.
Let's explain to my audience what that's like, Kelly.
Oh my gosh.
So around me, what are you seeing around me?
It's like that movie, I see dead people. So right now it's faint. If I really focus, sometimes I can see a full bodied apparition. That's kind of rare, but that has happened to me. I'll just see someone walk into my room in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's a little creepy sometimes. And I have to put my boundaries up because it's like a lighthouse. I feel like I'm a lighthouse sometimes. My light is so bright.
They know, sure.
Yeah, they'll find you somehow. And I have spirits, energies from all over finding me to try and communicate because they have something they want to pass along, or just they want someone to hear their story. They just want someone to hear them. That's all they want. And I'm happy to listen. I am, but not 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm half asleep. Come back later, please. Maybe later on in the morning. But for you right now, like I see him very faintly. I'm seeing him as a blob of consciousness, a blob of energy.
You see a blob of energy.
Yeah.
So how do you identify it as him? How do you know that it's him?
I just know it's a direct cognition, and it's like that inner knowing. That's mediumship and psychic abilities, and everyone can do this. I always like to remind that I'm no one special. If you're in a human body, you too can do this. I just happen to be super old, my soul, and I've been doing this a lot of lifetimes. So I came down to teach it and help others remember this divine ability and gift. Everyone can do this. Everyone's clairvoyant. Everyone has direct cognition abilities. It's very subtle. It's more subtle than people realize. Sometimes it can be very direct and strong and loud in your face, but usually 9 times out of 10, it's very subtle. It's a feeling that you just feel, a direct cognition. When I'm seeing energies and seeing spirits, it can usually just be a blob of energy, or I'll get a visual of what they looked like when they were here. They will show me different time periods when they were here, depending on how old they were when they passed over. Sometimes I'll see them when they were younger, sometimes older, depends on how that person wants to be shown.
Which is so cool because you don't stay old on the other side. You can present yourself in your prime.
Yeah. There's no aging. We're eternal. These human bodies, unfortunately, are aging right now. But yeah, it's much more subtle than people realize. So I have my father. He's he's passed over, and my best friend as well. They both passed over back in 2017. And it's funny, with the night my friend passed away, she was in the hospital, and we knew it was coming. She was very sick for a long time. That night I was awoken at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she was hovering over my bed. Full-bodied apparition.
Wow.
And
Wow.
she was
Wow.
glowing. Angelic, she was very sick towards the end, so she wasn't looking her best. And she showed me how she looked when she was in her 20s and she was healthy and vibrant. And she was holding my hand and caressing me and just kind of, yeah, caressing my hand, making sure I was okay. And it was really comforting. And this was before I was fully awakened. I had no idea I could do this and help people with these gifts. And I've had these experiences since I was a young kid. I would see things, I would see energies, colors. When I closed my eyes, I thought it was normal. I thought everyone had strange experiences. I would leave my body and travel elsewhere. And I thought everyone can do this. But now I know most people have forgotten how to do this. But yeah, I've had very strong, intense experiences like that. But usually when I'm reading for someone, it comes through very subtly. They'll show me images and it's sort of like playing Pictionary. They'll show me an example is maybe a father's coming through. Someone lost their father and he liked to drink beer. They'll show me a specific can of beer that they like to drink and they'll just pop it in my third eye and then I'll say it and that person will either confirm it or sometimes it could be a little off. It depends on the soul. If they're a strong soul, if they're maybe more advanced, it's easier for them to get the messaging down. And a newer soul sometimes has a hard time communicating because it can be difficult.
Just learning how to get through, and they have to lower their vibration as you're
and I'm raising mine.
Yours. How do you raise your vibration, Kelly?
At this point, for me, it happens quite naturally. I don't have to try any longer, but it's all about setting intentions. When you're first learning how to do this, learning these abilities that you have innately inside of you, it's consciously setting the intention. It's all about awareness and intention. So say you do want to start communicating with a loved one and you haven't done it before, set the intention. And honestly, a lot of it is clearing out the garbage inside of you, all that gunk, all that karmic, miasmic imprint, build up all that energy that's stuck within you to allow the higher levels of your consciousness to start embodying you. And that's what wakes up those dormant abilities. So a lot of it, honestly, most of it stems back from doing your own work, your inner healing work that then allows you to open up to your divine gifts and abilities and quite literally raise your frequency, going back and forth. I'd say it all honestly stems back to healing. That's number one. People need to heal and they need to clear energetically, not just heal yourself in the physical sense, but healing on a deep energetic level. That is the key to unlocking these divine gifts and really tapping into your intuition. Everyone can do this. Again, everyone can get divine guidance from the higher parts of you and from your spirit team and from loved ones. You just have to be open to hearing it. And a lot of people have blockages that prevent them from hearing it. I just keep seeing you expanding so much, Irene, like so much going forward. It's like,
really?
you think you've opened up, you're going to open up even further.
You're talking about psychically or
Like just more blockages being removed that have been preventing you from accessing fully. And you're going to open up even further in a beautiful way. In a beautiful, beautiful way, but it's still going to enable you to do your divine mission down here. Yeah. But it's going to also allow you to do it at an even higher level if you choose to. You can kind of like shift your frequency back and forth if you choose to. Again, free will. Everyone's got free will. I always say it's up to us ultimately if we want to embrace these gifts. But I do see you embracing your divine spiritual gifts as well. I do. And again, at any age, we can open up to this at any point in our lives, which I think is so incredible.
It's so incredible. I just want to say to everyone how blessed and grateful I am, and how on another level, how cool it is.
It's so cool
to have this going on. I don't know when Saul first transitioned, I became a founding board member for a philanthropy for children who are grieving. And I did that for 7 years.
Wow.
As I was developing this, all of this was going on with me with the book and all of that kind of thing. And I imagine that if all of this had not happened, I would have done something on a volunteer level somewhere. But it is so cool because I'm literally being directed and led with my faith and going. And the coolest is another cool thing. I have been out of that philanthropy. The name of it is Good Grief, and it helps children with peer support when they've had a loss. I've been out of that philanthropy for 12 years. I founded it. I worked with them for 7 years. A friend of mine just recently told me that her grandchildren's father died of pancreatic cancer, and they were going to be with an organization called Good Grief to help them to heal and to work with other kids in their peer group and all to help deal with their grief. And I thought, oh my God, look at this. 12 years later, I worked to found this philanthropy, and now it's helping my friends' grandchildren.
That's in full circle moment,
Full
right?
circle. How wonderful.
Wow, that's incredible.
So that's
I see you're going to do more philanthropy work. I see that very clearly for you.
Wow, very exciting.
I hope you don't mind. I'm just kind of saying what comes to me in the moment.
I think people would find this fascinating.
Well, you're meant to have a movie. I think I keep telling you that.
I have been told many times that my book will become a movie or something's going to happen.
Oh, absolutely. It will, because that's the best way to get to people, to teach them about this sort of thing, is through media. That's part of my life mission, is to create documentaries and TV shows and movies highlighting spiritual topics, teaching people about spirituality. And that's an easy way. It's an easy modality. And you could do it in a fun, lighthearted way as well. Get the messaging through and put the energy and this frequency into that work you're doing. And people are going to feel that love. And you have such your stories, and fascinating how you opened up to your abilities, obviously tragic, but also to me, I find it to be a fascinating story that a lot of people can relate to on some level, and that would make an incredible movie. I do feel that very strongly. That's going to happen for you
in the future. Maybe we'll be talking.
I think so, Irene. I think so. Oh, I think so. We're going to do a lot together. I feel that, and I just see you going all across the country, giving speeches, talks, promoting your books, helping people.
My whole
healing
thing,
journeys.
If I can help people, I'm just thrilled to do that.
You're helping so many already.
I'm very honored and humbled that I know I'm a vehicle, and I'm very clear about that, and I get the perk, the biggest perk is I get to meet people like Kelly. I mean, I get to bring you out into my world. And all of that. So it's a cross-pollination as being part of the collective, and how we are both contributing to each other's path, which is all part of, I'm told that we light workers, or we way showers, are the ones who are raising the vibration to help this planet move through the chaos.
And we can't do it all by ourselves. We have to work together, come into community and work together on this, because it takes a village. It certainly takes a village. We know that.
I don't have all the answers to anything. All I can do is do my part.
Exactly. And we all have a special, unique mission, and not one single person has all the answers. We all hold the keys for the collective, and coming together, and just even having a conversation like this. It's helping so many people. It's teaching so many people. And in time, they will, when it's time for them in divine timing, they're going to wake up, and then they're going to pass along the truth and the healing and the love to whoever they come across. So it really is like a wave effect. It just keeps moving and moving and moving. Yeah.
And I want to compliment the people who listen to your podcast and to mine, because they are opening, and they are open-minded, and they are wanting to learn, and they are wanting to get that comfort and that solace, and they want to know more. And I have to give them compliments, because other people are sitting stuck in their dramas, and people who are listening to this podcast and your podcast, between us, they are open-minded, and they're curious, and can there be a different path for me, or can I look at what's happened to me in a different way, so that I can expand from it instead of shrinking because of it.
Absolutely. And they're strong and they're tough. This is not easy. It's not an easy journey, healing yourself, clearing yourself, opening up. It's not for the weak. I've learned that. And we all are warriors, warrior of truth. We all are truly warriors. So if you're listening to this, you are a warrior yourself, and you should be so proud of yourself. This is not easy. This journey is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart.
Well, I can see why you call your not at all. And I can see why you call your podcast Warrior of Spirit, right?
Yeah. Warrior of Truth. Yep.
Of truth. There you go. I mean, my gosh.
We're all warriors. Yep.
We are, and it's so important.
It is.
It is really important. Well, I've said to people who were skeptical of what's been going on with me, I say, listen, all I can do is share my truth with you.
Yes.
This is my truth.
That's all we can do.
And you can choose is to think I'm full of it, or you can say, you know what, from what she's presenting and my sense of it, she's selling something true, and maybe I want to take a little piece of this for myself. That's a choice.
Absolutely. And I find people, they start fully embracing this, we'll say, this crazy spiritual side of things, because it can be quite crazy, but it's really cool when they have experiences for themselves. They can listen to us till they're blue in the face, but until they crack open, start having unique, strange, unexplainable experiences for themselves, they won't be fully ready. So I think the best way is for us sharing our truths, because that will enable others to open up, and we're spreading that frequency to others to help crack them open. And just sharing the truth is so important right now and vital. Please tell everyone where to find you, Irene, where to buy your books, where to listen to your podcast, promote away.
Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing with you. So
tell
them about you.
Yes.
Okay, well, if you please get on my website, everybody. It's Irene Weinberg, Weinberg. Irene is IRENE, IreneWeinberg.com. And through my website, or through any podcast you go to, and especially through YouTube, I'm encouraging people to please subscribe through YouTube. You can subscribe to the podcast. You can get all the episodes. You can enjoy it. And you can also get on my website and see the different events that I'm doing, and you're up to date with everything, all the books, the people I've interviewed who are so wise, that is all there. So that's really the best way. And I'm all over the place. I mean, social media, you name it, I'm all over there, through my website, through everything. My book is They Serve Bagels in Heaven. It's on Amazon, and there will be a launch for the new book in the spring. So that'll be very exciting. And that's basically, and I'm sure with Kelly, I'm sure you'll have show notes, and you'll have I'm going to put
all the links will be in the description, so you can click away from there. Absolutely. And my website is kellydillon.com, and you could find out more about me and the work I do. I do work with individuals one-on-one. So if you wanted to book a session, that's available on my website. If you had more questions, send me an email. I'm easy to communicate with. I always respond. You can send me a DM. I'm big on Instagram. It's Kelly Dillon, KELLDILLON. On Instagram, I do a lot of teaching on Instagram, and on my YouTube channel as well. And you can look up Warrior of Truth on YouTube, and also anywhere you listen to your podcast, Spotify, Apple. I'm all over. You can download. Each week I have on incredible people, just like Irene this week. So I'm easy to find. I'm easy to get in touch with. Reach out if you have any questions.
And if all of you will notice, we are both, neither one of us is selfishly holding on to our podcast, not to share it with other people, because we're part of a collective. And between us, we will reach so many people. So I don't ever look at it in a traditional competition kind of a way.
Exactly.
I look at Bravo, another voice of truth out there helping people.
There's room for everybody. There's room for everyone. We all have a unique gift and perspective to give to the world. Spread the love.
Spread the love and the light. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much, Irene. This was just beyond. I'm so excited.
The same, and vice versa.
Yes. Thank you so much. And you're coming back on at some point in the future. Absolutely. When the new book, you'll have to come back on to promote it.
To do that. Absolutely.
Yes. And we'll dive deeper.
And as I like to say, to be continued. This is truly a to be continued.
To be continued. I like that. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. You know how they say turnabout is fair play? Well, this time I was the one who was interviewed by Kelly Dillon, who has been a news reporter for 20 years in New York City. And she is now the host of a podcast called Warrior of Truth. We talked about how Kelly, who was born an indigo child with advanced psychic abilities, now works with the highest level healing frequencies on this planet to aid souls with healing for their energetic and physical bodies. And we, of course, talked about how I healed from the devastating loss of my husband, Saul, and my resulting spiritual awakening when he died next to me in a tragic car accident, and a lot more. You do not want to miss this really wonderful bonus episode that is filled with enlightening information. Really great. And I encourage you to tune in and listen and enjoy from my heart to yours. Bye for now.